Look at this photograph. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Silent and a Death Machine with an extreme lack of silent because Silent Mark's not here because he's unfortunately super busy. So I've taken an executive decision that he doesn't even know about yet. I'm the Death Machine, Aeron, and joining me to discuss lifestyle stuff and personal things and generally just a little bit more of a non-kayfabe podcast, so to speak, is my wonderful friend Tanvir, who is making his debut here at Silent and a Death Machine. Welcome to the party, bud.
Thank you for having me as always, sir. Happy to be here.
Do you think Silent Mark's going to be raging when he sees that you've taken his spot for the week?
He might be a little bit, but also I think he'd kind of be okay. I may not be as pretty as Mark, but I'll do the job.
I mean, for me, it's an upgrade, but it is what it is. So, you've both got horse cocks, so we're all good.
That yeah. 9-inch flobbing like flipping.
Tell you what, mate, I'm one fucking
metronome dick.
I'm one failed love interest from fucking a horse. I'll tell you.
I want to ask you that one time just off the pod of like, do you know any wrestler backstage with like a metronome cock?
I do know one wrestler with a massive dick, yeah, and he's big. Yeah, Big Lou Nixon is fucking hung like a horse. Oh, sorry, I'm not supposed to say that on the podcast. Yeah, but to be fair, I mean, even Darwin's promo, he was like, "Look at the fucking size of that," because it is. That's why they call him the reincarnation of Stu Hart, because he'll stretch you.
That's such a good.
Welcome to the dungeon. Oh, we've got fun and games.
We got whips and chains for you.
No, fuck yeah, no. I thought I was good at promos, but that boy is next level. So yeah, this is a lifestyle podcast. We just chat about general shit. So from a personal aspect, how are you feeling, mate? How's life treating you?
It's going good. I haven't gone to the gym in a week now because we had an Indian wedding over the weekend, and so went to one beginning of March, which was my cousin's, and that was enjoyable too. It was good because it's like you had one day of events, then a day off, then another day of events, then day off. So they kind of like staggered it, so there was that gap in between to recuperate, have time to yourself, maybe just work out. Whereas with the wedding just gone, it was like back to back. So it's like Wednesday there was a late night event, didn't get back to like 1 in the morning. Then Thursday had to be up early again. Then Friday was the wedding day. The Saturday was the reception. So each day from like since I'd say Monday and yesterday and even this morning, I'm like, I'm gonna go to the gym, and then immediately I'm like, I'm still recuperating from this fucking wedding because I'm so tired.
This is what I want to base this one around. Actually, is probably dating and misery for mine, but for you, culture. So I'm really excited about this because obviously I'm half Egyptian. Now, Arab weddings tend to be a little bit more aggressive, it turns out. Basically, just get up there and marry him or I'll behead you. No, Jesus. I'm having a very dark day. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, there's going to be a lot of stuttering in this video. I apologize for that. It's because of the bad weather we're having. We're having these crazy thunderstorms. It's fucking my internet up. It's got nothing to do with Tanvir Verdi because he lives in a civilized area of the world, whereas I live in Tennessee. Mate, I live in literally like the British equivalent of Alabama, you know?
If you're calling Hounslow civilized, fuck me.
I know, right? Like, although I had no idea just how close you are to my sister because she lives in Slough, so we need to fucking hook up, bro.
Like 25 minute drive. Like Frankie nailed it on the head when he just said like 20-minute drive.
Yeah. Madness, isn't it? Absolute madness. So yeah, I'll come and visit after I've seen the sister for a weekend. That'd be fun. So yeah, talk me through any new wedding. So the most recent one you did was for who was it for?
It was for my auntie's kid. I put in the group chat a picture of my auntie. And
obviously for us, for Christian culture or British white culture or just the general culture, weddings come down to a one-day event normally, don't they? So you have the ceremony where people get married, and then of course you have the reception afterwards where everyone gets drunk, that lovely first dance, and people sing or whatever, and then it's kind of done. Now, that sounds fantastic, but in comparison to what you lot do, extremely low key. So run me through the entire proceedings of this last wedding.
So on the Wednesday, it was a long day because we got to Auntie's early, I think for around 10 o'clock, because normally in the morning...
Is it your aunt, by the way?
Yeah, my mum's sister.
Awesome.
Yeah, so mum's side, and it's usually like you get this kind of like mixture of like flour, water, and I forget what else, and you like put it on the bride to like kind of cleanse them for like the marriage of like all the families do it, and it's a little bit
Did you say flour and
gross, but
water? Is it like
yeah,
quite thick then? Does it kind
yeah,
of
it's quite thick and sticky. It's
like a
like you've
face
got
mask? It's
kind of, but you put it like all over the
so
place,
you're
so like the
putting thick,
arms.
white, and sticky substances on the bride before he
It's orange because I think you put something else in it. I forget what it's
Sunny
called
D.
though. No,
Happy
it's
Republic Day, everyone.
I forget what it is, but if my mum was here, she'd be able to like tell you everything.
So this is day
Um,
one, isn't it? Now, what's a
yeah.
traditional Indian wedding? How many days does a traditional Indian wedding go?
So the traditional Indian. So I've only been to like I think my cousins. I've been to about three now because my sisters and my cousins last month weren't like as traditional. They were more like staggered and bit of both. My sisters especially was bit of both because my brother-in-law is white and my sister-in-law was great, but
He's what?
yeah. So
Oh
so
my God.
God.
But don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, Indians, it turn out incredibly fucking cool about the whole race dynamic.
Yeah. My niece is white. Can you believe it?
Yeah, no,
Yeah, so
yeah, no,
so
it's
it's
very, very
like so my cousins, like the first proper Indian wedding I went to was my cousin's, but that's going about like 6, 7 years ago now. So I would have been like younger, not too, but I still remember bits and
This is
pieces.
your
So
first weddings as a grown gentleman.
yeah, so 2021, which was my other cousins, my mum's brother's kid, I love my uncle to death. So they did it. So it was first night you have like the chimney ceremony, which is like you have all the family like holding the like red fabric over the lady's head, putting the mixture on the lady's body, but then also presenting the gifts.
So what do these things all do? Are these all like kind of symbolic of something? So
Kind of, it's kind of like the kind of like the farewell
take
or
your time, like
welcome
feel free
or
to
like
run us through in detail because
it's kind of like the because from a cultural standpoint, because I'm not too clued in, but I do ask my mom a lot of questions. It's more so like just the families like presenting things to the bride of like here's this dress, here's this thing, and like cleansing him
look at this
before
photograph.
of like cleansing them before they get married, and then at the night you have the joggo, which is like the celebration before like one of the wedding nights of like which is like a big party,
Is
which
this
is
all
what
day one, is it?
yeah, which is why on the Wednesday it's like we didn't get into like 1 in the morning because we ran so late with the joggo
Heavy.
because it
Yeah.
was because the joggo is literally like a
I'll
party
tell you
like
what, would love to do videography. I won't even charge. Like if you do any weddings and you want a videographer, I think that would be spectacular to do. So,
yeah.
unless it's offensive, I don't know. It might be
No,
culturally unacceptable to record things. I'm not
no,
involved.
we do get that stuff
I sound
recorded.
actually really woke right now. I do respect people's cultures. Like some people, like for instance, I know I can't remember whether it's one of the Asian cultures doesn't frowns upon using photography, doesn't it? At certain weddings.
I think so. It might be on the Hinduism side, but that's just me speculating. I wouldn't be able to say for sure. Um, but yeah, we do allow like photography at almost everything. We said in 2021 the barometers of like a good time is that everybody's pissed. Because I don't drink, they were even like, oh, you can still have a great time. So the jog goes really
Here's
fun.
some crack.
Yeah. Joggo, yeah, so the Joggo is like the big party of like the celebration of like she's getting married, let's go. And then the first day was kind of like I don't even really remember the first day because it was such a short day. It was kind of
Well,
just
Thursday was
like
day two, right?
Thursday was day two. It was kind of just like in the morning, just having a bit of breakfast with the family, I think going over things, taking
Oh, so that's not
pictures.
like a full-on ceremony like day
No,
one is.
nah, not the second day. The second
This
day
like
they
is
did
this like a traditional layout that happens for most Indian weddings?
I think so. It might just be different because my cousin loves being different as well. So I don't know. I think each Indian wedding is different, but they've each got the same parts. I think with the day two, I don't even remember if there was like a specific ceremony or anything. There might have been. I don't remember so. And then
Were you were you still huffing masala, as they like to say? It's
Nah,
kind of like
nah.
I'm not trying to be racist. That's a joke.
Yeah, it's a joke.
Because
It is
your
a
Indian
joke.
family, you're gonna be like, what the fuck is wrong with this cunt? Like, first of all, I'm extremely depressed, and second of all, I'm Arabic. So what do you
Uh,
expect? You know what us Arabs are like? Jesus.
yeah, it was like it was a lot of fun. The second day was just kind of like that relaxed day of like I
Yeah.
think just sorting things out, of just getting things ready. And then the Friday was the actual wedding in the temple. So we got to cousins early so that we could take pics as a family, looking all nice in our suits, getting ready for the wedding. The color scheme for her wedding was sage green, so that's why I wore my grey suit.
Just color. Yeah.
Looking all good, taking pictures, then went
So
to the temple.
just to ask, because I've seen what I have seen my fleeting images of Indian weddings. People wear traditional garb. There's robes and things of that
Yeah.
nature.
So
Is it considered are the men meant to wear suits, or are there different variations based on what
there's
you
there's
are
different
to the family?
there's different variations. So I know that my on the Wednesday with the Joggo, that my other cousins wore like the kulta pajamas, which is like the traditional.
Are
But
they
for
actually
the
referred
actual
to as pajamas? Are they?
kulta pajama, so like
Oh, that's
the
fucking
yeah.
cool, isn't it?
Yeah, so and so on the Friday, it's not really fun because I know it was my us men just wore suits. Of like all of us wore suits. It was my it was the groom who wore like traditional garb, and also my uncle, so father of the bride, because initially he was going to wear a suit too, but my cousin was like, no, wear traditional, and so he wore the traditional, and it actually really suited him. So you can wear suits, and then so you do all the stuff in the temple, which was kind of like just saying hi to everybody, getting pictures. Then you go outside the temple and you just stand as a family, and it's all the exchanges between the family. So it's like uncle to uncle, mother to mother, just kind of like the exchanging of like crests. If you're a royal family, of like, oh, this family's coming in, so it's kind of like just the exchanges. So my grandpa was there to exchange with their grandfather and all that. So exchanges kind of signify like, yeah, this is the union of the two families. Then go inside, go upstairs. They basically say their vows in a way in front of the Guru Granth Sahib, and then us cousins or brothers, as we're referred to because we're directly related. We stand around the Guru Granth Sahib or Babaji's bead, where we all stand, and then what the bride and husband will do is just walk around us, and our brothers step in, like kind of just guiding her around.
Okay.
And then once that's done, we went downstairs and just grabbed some food because because traditionally what usually happens is with food at the Gurdwara for weddings is that you'll do all that, you go downstairs and there'll be samosas and tea, and like also like gulab jamun, or also uh
This is all the proper food, not the shit we get in the takeaways, right?
yeah, but then
Because
but
most of what we have, like, is it fair to say, as an Indian
mm,
man of Indian heritage,
mm,
that Indian food that we know of, the
mm,
kormas and the masalas and things like that,
mm.
are very kind of like gentrified colonization food?
In a way, kind of, but no, because it's like we always say, it's like chicken tikka masala came from Scotland, of all places. So
So basically, these aren't traditionally Indian dishes at all. They're things that we've co-opted because we couldn't handle your proper food, essentially.
yeah, but yeah, my cousin being different because she was like, no, I don't really want samosas and tea after the. So she had a longer set of. So you had rice, paneer, saag, dal, and salad, jalebi, all
You
that
wouldn't
good
drag me
stuff.
away from the dinner table. They'd be
Yeah,
like,
that's how
Tanvir,
I
who have
should.
you brought to this wedding? It's just me. Oh my god, fucking good shit, pal.
That that's how straight up I was like, oh, I was like, okay, I'm happy with this. My brother was a little bit peeved because he's like, I love the food, don't get me wrong, but he was really looking forward to a samosa. He was like, I really want a samosa, and then when he wasn't there, he was like, oh, he was like, I
Well, pop
really
down to the
wanted one.
local shop, you big baby.
Nah, it was good, and then after that, it was just the last minute things. Then we went back to the house, sorted all the house out and everything, got it ready for the evening. So because with us being family, it's like kind of like, can you help set up? And we're like, absolutely.
So is that the
Uh,
temple done with then? And that
yeah,
so that's
yeah,
kind of like that's like like almost like our version with the chapel. Like you go
yeah,
there, you have the ceremony, and then get out. And
yeah.
obviously,
Then we go back to the bride's house and we do something called the dolly, which is like the ceremony of like the husband coming into the house and just like doing a few challenges set by the family. So we had
is
him like
this
sing.
like his first time that he enters this house?
I think as husband, technically yes,
Oh,
but
so
it's
it's kind of like even though you might already live there, it's like you're entering this as a brand new man.
yeah, but
Now,
it's more so the bride because if going back to the bride's house, it's more symbolic for the bride because it's the first time of the bride leaving the house as a bride to the husband and going to the husband's house. So it's kind of like the mum and the family being like goodbye of like you're leaving to start this new chapter of your life.
oh, my friend.
Me and my brother had this discussion in the car though on the way back with the dolly ceremony is because the families kind of overreact to the point where the person's died. They're like, oh, they overreact to like, oh my god, she's going, like just like crying, like bawling their eyes out. Whereas we're still there, it's like, yeah, it's sad that she's like leaving the house to start off this new chapter of her life, but we're seeing her tomorrow. It's like we're seeing her tomorrow. She's not dying. Don't no need to overreact to the point like you're never gonna see her again.
An emotional race of human beings, just like that. I mean,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
as we said, yeah, I mean, if you've ever seen Arab weddings and Arab cultures, like extremely hardcore, like
yeah.
fiery passion.
The
Like
the only thing I think I don't like with Indian weddings is the way the bride has to be. She just kind of have to be stone faced throughout the whole thing.
is
I'm
she
like,
not allowed to express herself then? Is that not a thing?
not really, no. And I'm like, it's your wedding day. You should be giving us one. It's why my cousin back in 2021 when she got married, even though you're not allowed to smile, she gave out a few smiles like every now and again. And I'm
You're
like,
not allowed to. It's like considered faux pas smart.
kind in a way, kind of. And I'm like,
Wow.
no, it's your wedding day. You
It's
should
your
be
day, isn't it? It's supposed
yeah,
to.
it's like you should be having a smile on your
Is the
face, looking
man
all
supposed to be
happy.
stoic as well, or is he allowed to just?
The man kind of like is kind of allowed to be stoic, or they can be either they can be stoic
Oh,
or
I
like
see.
happy.
I see what's going on here,
Yeah,
India.
yeah.
Like,
So that's why I was like, it kind of gets me, like miffs me. Why I'm like, why can't the bride express herself too? If like the bride's here, why can't she be happy as well?
it's a good time for me to answer. So anything I ask, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, is not come from a
Yeah.
state of racism or cultural insensitivity. It's me trying to learn. So India in Western culture has a reputation, especially in the media, which take that with a pinch of salt because
Yeah.
Murdoch is a cocksucker. But it's that thing of the reputation is that in India, very much like the Arab culture, women have far less say. They're kind of housebound and things like that, and they
Yeah.
and is that prominent? Because we do see a lot of violence. Well, we see reported violence towards women a lot. We don't really see that on the clip, stuff like that.
Well, so going back, I want to say 37 years ago now to when my parents were in arranged marriage, it's still kind of like that where it's like, okay, wife stays at home and all that. I think now that we're in the year 2023 and so much has changed of like my brother-in-law and sister, it's like they're both very outgoing, both working. So I think over the years it has changed like the stigma of like, oh yeah, but going back 37 years when my parents were in arranged marriage and all that jazz, it's very much,
So it's
yeah,
growing.
wife.
Like arranged marriages aren't necessarily as prominent as they were.
No, because I think I said this last time of that. Me and my mum went and saw the film. What has love got to do with it? And that's to do with arranged marriages. And my mum was like, "Yeah, arranged marriages aren't as prominent nowadays, but I can see like how it's still kind of relatable for the generation." And I'm like, "Yeah, because you don't really hear much about like arranged marriages now because they have kind of died down."
Have you seen East is East?
I think I've seen clips of it. Yeah.
I'm curious as to whether that is a good representation of your culture or not.
Because was Easter's East the Gorinda Chatter film? It might have been.
It's the one based in Bradford, I believe.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think. Let me double check. Oh no, Damien O'Donnell. But I think I have seen Easter's East, and
Because
yeah,
that
it
was
is
like,
one.
for me, that was my first real eye-opening look into Indian culture.
Mm.
Like before then, as a small child who knew fuck all about the world, other than like a Muslim household, my exposure to Indian culture was kind of like, okay, they have the takeaway shops,
Mhm.
and people are going to be like, that's really ignorant. And it's like, yeah, but that's the whole point, isn't it? When you're a kid, you don't know any better. So for me, Indian culture was only associated with British Empire and food.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, hey, and obviously, you know, to this day, I'm pretty sure, at least up until a point, um, an Indian dish is the most consumed dish in this country, if I'm
I
correct.
think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I still think another film that does good with the Indian representation is the Daniel Day-Lewis film called My Beautiful Laundrette. That
Um,
was that Yeah, that was a good one because kind of like how Indians are very like money minded, of how you have the one family that's kind of like broken down in the flat, and then you have the other family who's rich, and then the poor kid joins the rich Indians and being landlords and all that about understanding money. So there is kind of that to it too, of like like back then Indians felt like they were kind of owed, when it was like no, and it's like just because you work hard. So I think that there are a lot of good films that are like good with the representation side of things.
um, so obviously, is that the end as far as the wedding goes? 3 days predominantly.
So you got the 3 days, and then on Saturday was just the reception.
Okay, so
So
the
just
reception comes on a fourth day.
you can do so with my cousins back beginning of March. They did wedding and reception all in one day, which was fine. But my cousin decided to stagger it out, so like do the wedding one day, the reception the other. So you can do it any order. I know with my sister we did the wedding and the reception same day. I think that's the main thing that most families do. They do the wedding and the reception in the same day. My cousin wanted to be different. It's like we're gonna do the wedding this day. Everybody go home, relax for a bit. We'll do a reception the next day.
So it's
And
not
so
rigid in the sense of you have to conform to a certain layout. You
no,
can do what
my cousin who got married is a little rebel. She's like my sister. She's like my mum. Like my mum even says like, oh, she's like me, like a little rebel who's like she wants it her way or no way. And
I
so my
bet she
cousin,
was. I bet she was ferocious on wedding day, though.
yeah, yeah, but lovely, lovely lady.
How exhausting is this process by the end of it? You must be knackered.
Uh,
I'm
my
knackered from
so
1 day weddings. So.
So my brother-in-law in 2021, which is my other cousins, it was his first like proper Indian wedding, and right at the end of it on the drive home, he was like, "Thank fuck it's over." It's like, yeah, yeah, you know what we go through each time now, don't you? It's like I don't know how you do it. It's like it's so tiring. It's so like even my dad, I think after the one in 2020, he's like, we need to find a way to shorten these things down because they're too long. It's like yeah, we need to find a way to like make them shorter.
Cost wise, they must be unbelievable.
Oh yeah. It's also why so like me being an uncle now to my niece Mila, who's a female, just knowing in the future that it's like, oh yeah, she's gonna get married one day. And to
Isn't it the
tradition,
uncle's responsibility?
yeah, and it's like
Much like the
tradition,
father of the bride in Christian weddings is kind of responsible for the finances, is it more
yeah,
the uncle?
yeah, more with the uncle, and because it's me and my brother, so it was like, yeah, that's gonna happen one day of like she's
Trying
gonna
to
get
boot up that
married.
OnlyFans, pal.
Yeah, it's like she's gonna be getting married someday, and we're gonna be there having to flip in dick in the pockets. It's like
So, I mean, I don't want to
cause,
scare the shit out of your current missus because I know you've got yourself a girlfriend and you've been going out. How long you two been together now?
it's been 2 months.
2 months. That is wonderful. Obviously, we don't want to name drop her and stuff because you know it's unfair on her. But so is she? What culture is she from? Is she white? Is she English? Or...
She's white. She is Canadian. She's
She's
white.
Kyle Wilkes. Has she got legs? It's a joke that nobody will get. They'll be like, "What?
Nah,
Canadians?"
I'm working on that hover chair. I'm working on a hover chair for
Yeah,
her.
she's got yeah, like the end of Wally, where all the humans are like in those like little hot things. Yeah,
Oh.
not the first reference to Wally today, but I was talking about that with Ebenezer on his podcast. This is my third podcast of the day. Good shit.
Wally's such a great film, by the way.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I know it's like off the tangent. It might be up there as my favorite Pixar film. I love Bugs Life. I do love Toy Story. Yeah.
What and Eva is kind of how me and this girl are. Because it's like Eva just does not even fucking pay attention to him. And that's the same with me. She's like, I don't give a shit about you. I'm busy doing my thing. You are a nobody from some
Show me,
I'm
and
basically some robot from a shack in the middle of
you're
the
you're just there like the wheel on this shit on the Axiom, who's like, show me the plant, show me the plant.
literally. I'm like, where is the green? Because like, and it's made worse by the fact that I'm obviously half Egyptian, so I'm used to the color sand. um, like, trust me, some
I
stereotypes exist for a reason.
I will never get over what Ajax called you in the flipping games night. I will never get over
That will
that.
never be allowed to be repeated because it will literally get the poor bastard cancelled.
It's I hate the fact that one of the prompts on games night is the most offensive one, and I've got it twice, and I'm like, I have to be the worst piece of shit in the world. And I think I went on that rage on when we did the games night. I'm like, I hate the fact. I'm like, why have I got this twice? Like, why?
Very cathartic in many ways, games night, but it's also terrifying. Like it's for us,
Yeah.
it's where we use, and I'm sure it's basically we do things like our versions of Cards Against Humanity, Quiplash, and stuff like that, and things get real dark real quick. Like
Yeah.
we all start attacking each other's cultures out of fun and kindness, not because we generally hate anyone, obviously, but yeah, like from the outside looking in, you'd be like, whoa.
Danny wasn't lying when she had a lot of salt. Danny was not lying.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, when Danny's got soul, she got soul. She's like, honestly, like, never mind like a fucking standard one either. I'm talking like one of them big old Himalayan leg chairs.
Yeah.
Terrifying. I would not fuck with that one.
Yeah, I think it's what I think it was what Ajax said, or Danny said. It's like games night has quickly become one of the highlights of my week. I'm like, oh, we're doing a games night, yes.
Yeah, to be honest, it's what's kind of helped get me through a lot of, what's been difficult about my life at the moment. But is there anything you want to touch upon with the Indian culture before we move on? Like, because obviously, very cool. Would you, like, obviously you live in Hounslow, don't you, in London, which is kind of a much more ethnically diverse area.
Yeah, definitely.
Is it like, so I'm curious, like I'm half Egyptian. I suffered a lot of racism throughout my life for being part of an Arabic family. Although most people say to me, we don't even really recognize you as foreign. We just, because, the voice and everything. Yeah, I got the beard, got the chest, but I don't have like the dark, like my sisters, for instance, have beautiful dark brown skin, like gorgeous, gorgeous souls they are. They're like the supermodels of the family, and then me, I'm just like the black sheep reprobate. Just an absolute fucking tear away everything that is wrong about Arabs, like, in the sense of like they're just like, yeah, you're a bad Egyptian. That's basically what they say. Do you find have you found that you've come across a lot of racism or confrontation because
I've been lucky to be one of the many few who's lived in such a diverse area that I haven't really experienced any racism.
That's lovely to hear, though.
I think I experienced like one time because it was like when I was younger, going over to a friend's house. I think we'd done like a band night or something, and then I think one of his other friends came, and I was just introducing myself. And he's like, "I'm gonna call you Raj." And at that point, all of us left because we were like, "Yeah, this guy's a fucking asshole." So all of us basically left.
I take it in my stride, and I suppose it helps that I'm an old man compared to you. But at the same time, it's that thing of like, fuck me, like, is that the best you got? Like, that's just embarrassing.
Yeah, it's like, and also it's like not one of the things, but it's because of the way it's like walking down Hounslow High Street. Like I have been mistaken for a Muslim like majority of times because they're like, "Oh yes, hello brother," and I'm like, "I'm sorry, I'm not."
Sorry, I have no idea what you just said.
yeah, I'm like, sorry.
How do you think I feel when I go to like Egyptian family stuff and they're just salam shalaikum and all this, and I'm just like, no clue, bro.
I'm like, it's like I've been mistaken.
I know more German than I do Arabic, bro. Come on.
I've been mistaken for a Muslim like quite a few times, and I'm like, I'm sorry. I'd love to help. I don't know what you're saying, and I don't know what you want me to do.
I've never seen you with a beard. Absolutely outrageous. Come on.
I
can understand your brother must get a lot of that because he's got a fucking whopper beard, hasn't he? Like...
Yeah, I've like grown a beard before, but I like got to the point where it's like I don't really like the feel of it or the way my beard looks.
Does your girlfriend like the feel of it?
No, she made that clear. She said it's like I don't like the feel of your beard, so I was like, okay. I'm like it works out because it's like I don't really like having my beard.
Literally, you basically were told to shave and did so for your partner. Exactly.
It
You
was
say
like
clean shaven because she doesn't like being tickled in the midriff.
I like being clean shaven as well because I just prefer it. I just feel like brings up my
So
face
how did
more.
you guys meet? I think you mentioned that you knew her
Yeah,
when you were younger.
yeah, we met each other in college, Richmond College, about 6 years ago, 6, 7 years ago, and then like after college, just kind of on our own ways, just kept in contact. And it was only recently that we were like, hey, let's meet up because it's been a while. We met up and it was lovely, and then we were like, yeah, let's get together, and she sends me very really lovely messages that make my day, and I send her the same.
That's beautiful, man. I'm also insanely
Yeah.
jealous
Oh,
because it's
I'll
like,
be like that too.
fuck you
I'll
and
be
your
like that to you
happiness.
if
No,
you
I'm
want.
kidding. I'm
Oh,
one of these people, like, even if I'm like somebody, I think it was Ajax said to me the other day, he said, what I find amazing is even when you're super unhappy, you still make time for everybody.
yeah,
And it's that thing of, it's kind of a selfish thing. It's not, people think, oh, that's very selfless. It's actually a selfish thing of, I need to make time for people because I love them anyway. But
yeah,
I also want to make time for them because it's like, you know what? At least if I can help other people,
yeah.
it makes it like worth waking up. Because otherwise,
It,
have that, I'd have nothing to wake up for
uh,
a lot of time.
it's one of those things as well as that it gets you out of your own head of being able to talk to other people because you'll be in your own head and you're like,
Yeah. I
no,
spent way
actually,
too much time in my own head. Like, this girl I went on a date with recently, she sort of said to me, like, you need to get out of your own head. Like, like it's very weird being surrounded
yeah,
by, like obviously, I'm in the wrestling business pretty much full time. And I'm surrounded by, you've seen wrestlers, they're all ridiculously good looking people.
yeah,
They're all shredded, they're jacked, they're handsome, they're all fucking like animals because they're just looking, it's like the Olympic Village, that kind of cliche, but it is kind of true.
yeah.
Like everybody's got a 10 for a body, so they're all just fucking like animals. Like,
Sans Robbie Nitro.
yeah, there's that too. And then, and then there's
I love you, Robbie. Sorry.
we do love you. We do. But it's that thing of, like, and obviously Robbie coming on the podcast was amazing for us.
Yeah,
I thought that was an
that
incredible,
was a really good listen.
very
Really good.
powerful, but very honest, and I really appreciated that. But yeah, no, it does play on your mind. So I'll sit there and I'll be like, fuck, like, what am I doing here? All these
Mm.
people are gorgeous. They're all beautiful. Like, the one thing I have going for me is size. I'm a very big guy. I'm 6'3". So obviously, when I walk into a room, people are like, "Whoa, you
Mm.
are not a videographer. You're like you." I love this. I get this at almost every show. People are like, "Who are you working today?" Because they assume I'm a wrestler, and I'm like,
Yeah,
well, "I can wrestle, not very well. It has to be said. I've never claimed to be a good wrestler, but I am trained, and that's why I have a little bit more credibility in my work because people can be like." Yeah, yeah, this guy gets it. He knows what he's looking for. And that's how I've been able to craft out such a nice little niche for myself. But it is tough. Like, you not only do you get imposter syndrome because you don't feel like you're a part of this beautiful, shiny Aryan race, so to speak. Not Aryan, but you know what I mean, like the perfect right.
yeah,
So just look perfect. They're chiseled and they're jacked. And to be fair, most of them work incredibly hard at it. It's not like they're gifted that. They have to
yeah,
work. Um, but it's that, and then it's also that thing of like, it does make you feel unattractive. It does make you feel like, fuck me, like, look at how beautiful these people are. I must look like a dog's dinner by comparison. And that's not always the case. Like, not every wrestler is beautiful and handsome and
yeah,
chiseled like The Rock or Randy Orton or whoever, but it does kind of play on your mind. And I think wrestling is one of these sports slash professions where you have to be super mentally tough because otherwise
yeah, absolutely.
life. And that's something that's been beaten out of me as like, yeah, I have anxiety, I have depression, and I have to deal with those things every time I go into a show. A lot of these guys, they walk in, they got the swagger. Oh, look, there's Danny Black, there's Joe Lando, there's fucking Pete Dunne. I've worked with all these people, and I'm like, and there's me, some
You
random Arab
know,
geezer.
you know what that reminds me of, the way you're describing it? It reminds me of like Eddie Kingston. Of like Eddie Kingston's kind of like that sore farm who doesn't look like he belongs, but you see him and you're like, no, he absolutely does belong. And that's what you're sounding like, of like you work with all these amazing people and you're like, am I that good? And then you see him and it's like, oh no, you are that good. You need to start believing in yourself, get out your own head, because it's like you are that good and talented, my man.
That's very kind of you, mate. Yeah, it's tough because some days I walk into the room and I think I'm gonna fucking smash this shit because I'm one of the best. I think I'm one of the best commentators in this country. I think I could be one of the best MCs. I'm now doing MCing. I know that I am one of the best videographers in the game. I know I'm one of the best graphic designers and editors in the game. No matter what salty people from certain places think or react to, like that doesn't change the fact that my workload and my client list speaks volumes for me as a person. But it is that thing. We're all in our own heads at time to time.
Yeah.
And, it's so I feel like in the last maybe 2 or 3 years, especially, there's been a big leap in my self esteem, my confidence, my ability to carry myself. And yet that all goes away when I meet people. And if I fall for them or if I have feelings for them, like recently, it's like, wow, where did that all go? Where did my confidence go?
Yeah.
Like, the recent date I went on, braces, shirt, nice black jeans, really high end sneaks, black smooth sneaks and a hat. Like I looked at my best, not just what you see now. People see this and they're like, yeah, that's not bad. It's like, this is like,
I'd fuck it.
I'd fucking tap that shit. That's very, very kind of you, but I think your missus might have an issue with that, especially with the old tickling scenario. Like this thing, this will tickle me. This has tickled many a downstairs, I'll tell you. But it's not always women either. But it's that thing of it is frustrating because you sit there and you think, what's going on? Where did my confidence go? Where's my self-esteem? What's wrong with me? And it's very, very tricky. Like you go on TikTok and that's the best and worst of the world because I swear my TikTok obviously listens to me because like last night I was going through it and it's all just like self-help and self-motivation videos. So it's just like, we know that you want to kill yourself and we need to remind you to get out of your own head. And then you get to that point where you're like, there's always that moment. I'm sure everyone has this at some point, especially those of us on the mental health spectrum, the big black dog, as we like to call it. There's that moment where you sit there and you go full Will Smith and you go, how come she don't want me, man? And
Yeah.
it's heartbreaking being on your own in a profession where pretty much everybody has either found somebody or is super narcissistic and doesn't care, because there are a lot of narcissists in wrestling. I'm not going to lie about that, and they know it. Most of these people openly say to me, "Yeah, I'm a narcissist. Yeah, I'm fucking great. I don't care." That can be very toxic as well as liberating. And yeah, it's that breakdown of, do I need to be more of a cunt? Do I need to be more of a piece of shit? Do I need to stop and think, right, I need to be super dark and super dismissive? Do I need to be like, bitch, shut the fuck up and suck my dick or go away? Which is not me, as anyone knows. Like, they might watch Wrestle Block and think, that's that guy. And it's like, that's actually not the case. It's gimmick. Gimmick. It's all part of it. It's an act. It's a character. It's built for the sake of wrestling. Yeah, my opinions are what I truly believe, but it's delivered in a very characterful, kind of theatrical way. Whereas here it's like, okay, this is like therapy time. Silent Death Machine is all about, here's the true, honest, raw version of what I am as a person. It's frustrating. It's difficult as well because obviously I can't really ask you questions. You've got a girlfriend. You're much younger than me. But
you can ask me questions. I'll try to answer them as best I can.
No, absolutely. See, this is what I love about this and this is what I love about my friends is I don't assume because Tanvir is like in his early 20s and he's, jacked to the gills and all this, that, he can't relate to me. I will always afford him the time to listen and also vice versa. I'm always going to listen to him and help him. And for me, I sit there and I think, what do you think? Like, you are one of my closest friends.
Yeah.
What do you think I'm doing wrong, if anything?
I don't think you're doing anything wrong because, like I say to people, it's like everybody's got their own method of working shit out, and it's like absolutely. I think like you're not doing anything wrong. It's like you put in the group chat, if you need a natter, you need a natter, you need a chat, and it's like I think your method of like working your shit out is talking to people, which I absolutely admire and adore. That's why I always lend their ears. Like if I'm free, like hit me up. I'll try my best to reply. If I'm not, still message me and I'll read them as best I can. Because I think I'm like starting to understand with you is that like your way of processing things is just talking, and I love that. Of like just because it's like the one thing that they see with mental health, like in all of the adverts, it's like just talk to someone, and you do that so much. So I think with you, you're not doing anything like objectively wrong, so to speak. Because I don't think there is like anything you can do wrong, really, because like I just said, it's like everybody's got their own way of like working stuff out. So I think with me at times, like sometimes it is just talking to you or just taking a breather, or now with my girlfriend, just letting her know, and she'll get back to me, and and I think at times it is sometimes like being a bit of an narcissist of like sometimes you feel you have to be an arsehole, but then at times you're like, no, that's not really me. So
It's a
it,
difficult balance because I'm presented and I'm probably seen as this big, larger than life, powerful person. And in many ways, that is actually a real human being. But there's layers to everyone. Now, some people don't, you strip back the layers and you see the depression and the anxiety or the difficulties or the weaker moments or whatever you want to call it, the victimhood, whatever people might see, because people see it differently. Like for me, I think what fucks me up is like, so, you know, one of the biggest frustrations about being on the dating scene, especially now, especially when you're older, because I'm 38,
yeah,
it's that thing of everyone now at this point is kind of terrified of meeting people properly. So now you're at the biggest disadvantage ever as a single person. And more often than not now as well, a large proportion of single people I see are very much kind of like I have so many single friends who have made peace with the fact that, yeah, I'm just going to be on my own for the rest of my life because I prefer that. And for me, I feel like that's really sad. Like, if it works for them, good. But I think that's so sad that you're going to spend the rest of your life without a significant other. Yeah, it's
yeah,
great having your friends. It's great having group chats. It's great having podcasts and things to distract you. But then you're left with this unnerving. When the lights go off or when the cameras go off and it's just you,
yeah.
you don't turn around and go, oh, there's the love of my life. Let's talk or whatever. You just look and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
It's just
And
you
there was that
and your thoughts.
one podcast that Renee Paquette recently did on the sessions with a podcaster who he's been in relationships in the past, but he just felt like they weren't for him. It's like he's given it his fair shot, like a few months, but then he just got to a point where he's like, yeah, relationships just aren't for me. So I think with that I commend of like where they're like, I've given the relationship thing a try and just found it wasn't for me. And I'm like, that's fair enough, because like you've given it a try. If it's not for you, it's not for you. So, but then when you like you just if you haven't given it a try and then you just go like, oh yeah, I'm just on my own forever. It's like no, because have you really like tried being in a like I never thought I'd be in a relationship again after like I got cheated on a decade ago, but here I am with amazing with girlfriend I love dearly now, and
How long did
so
it take before you admitted that you love each other? Have you said that to each other?
oh yeah, it took like a few weeks. She sends me like messages of like I'm sometimes like the best thing that's happened to her, and I'm like, you just like making my day, don't you? I'm like, you
Yeah.
just I was
It's
getting that
beautiful
message.
because I'm so happy you have that. And
Yeah,
then in the back of my mind, like I had this interesting conversation with a pretty high end wrestler who's worked for big promotions.
yeah,
And he was saying that, he felt frustrated that he wasn't getting the same opportunities other guys were who were in the similar mindset to him. And I said to him, it's okay to be really happy for people, but also have that almost jealous
yeah,
effect in the back of your mind where you're like, I should have that too, because
yeah,
with me, it's that thing of I'm working astonishingly hard. It's not like I'm just like meh or whatever. Like I'm genuinely out here, I put myself front and center. A lot of people on these dating apps or whatever, they're shady or they're not being real or they're looking to be nefarious. Whereas with me, it's like that's exactly what you're getting. And I'm super honest on my profile. I'm very honest about who
yeah,
I am. And some people are intimidated by that because they're like, fuck me, this guy knows what he wants and I don't. But I'm of that opinion, like, why are you on these apps? Why are you doing these things? Why are you living that lifestyle if you don't want these certain things? And what's frustrating is like, so everyone knows the one thing that triggers me and makes me angry is when people waste my time. I hate having my
yeah.
time. That's
Oh,
that's my that's my biggest
I'm
pet.
I'm the same there.
It triggers the fuck out of me. And when you go on dates with people, when you meet people, or even just a conversation, and they're like, yeah, not really sure whether I want to sort of meet up or not. Oh, I don't really know what I want. What the fuck are you doing on here?
What
Why?
do you want then? Like, do you want a relationship? Do you want to just
Like, and that's
fuck?
the
Or...
thing. Like, I'm not against the idea of being in an open relationship or just sleeping around. Like, all these things. Like, I'm very sex positive, as people know.
Yeah,
I'm very happy to explore the world and do different things with different people. But make it clear to people. Like, I'm sure barely anyone's watching this anyway, but if they are watching this and they're thinking, oh, that's me, like, be fucking honest about what you want from a scenario. If, for instance, it's okay to, if you're somebody who's like, I want to find a relationship, that's great. That doesn't mean that you can't still have casual sex or meet somebody you think, yeah, we've got like a physical attraction going on. Let's just fuck it out. Like, that's cool too. But just be honest with every scenario that you have, not just the one. So every time you meet somebody, express how you feel, express your vibe, express what you're thinking. Even if it's just 1 or 2 days, I don't think it's so. Some people might say, "Oh, you're too full on. Like, you need to relax. It's baby steps and all that." And it's like, that's fine. Tell me it's baby steps then.
Yeah,
Tell me that it's, something that you need to do. If you're one of these people who can't be in a relationship unless you've gone on like 20 dates, make that clear from the get
yeah,
go. I'm one of these people. It doesn't matter how much I feel for you, whether we sleep together or not, whether we kiss or we cuddle, whatever it might be, whether we have intimacy or not. I need to be at this stage before I know that I can,
yeah,
give myself to somebody in a more serious fashion. Or if you're not willing to do that at all, say so in the first place. I'm just not going to be that person who's going to fucking end up being in a relationship with you. Truth be told, I probably just find you really sexually attractive. So let's bang it out. It's like, that's fine too. That's actually quite healthy. I don't
yeah,
mind that. But it's when people don't relay that information to you and you think, oh, that's when
yeah,
the mental health starts. That's when the black dog starts kicking in because you're in this limbo
yeah,
where you're sitting there thinking, what the fuck? What am I doing? You're in your own headspace because you have nowhere else to go because these people aren't communicating with you. And it doesn't always work out. In the case with this one, it's that thing of I know I'm really like invested emotionally in this person, but at the same time, it's very obvious they're not in me.
no,
And maybe their profession makes that worse, whatever it might be. But it's that frustration of, I would have liked to have known what you're thinking in that moment,
exactly,
and
exactly.
people don't share that, and that's when things start getting quite ugly, or they just get depressing because
Yeah,
then all of a sudden it's like, there's no excuse for going off the handles or being abusive and violent towards people or anything like that. But on the flip side, it's that thing of don't be surprised if you get a more hostile tone from people or just negative energy from them if you're not being open and honest with them, because
we,
ultimately I'm one of these people. I match energies. So if I meet someone I really like and they're super all over me, and I'm going to match that energy. I'm going to give you that same level of passion and intimacy and sex and whatever it might be. But if you're like, meh, all right, how's it going? I'm going to be like, okay, like you're giving me that meh vibe, so that's what you're getting back. That's what you're going to get. And trying to, and then when you do that, people get offended. Like, why aren't you showing me more interest? It's like, because we match each other's energies. And
yeah.
if you're not showing energy towards me, why should I then pound out the energy for you, knowing that I'm not going to get anything even
So
remotely close in return?
you need to like they need to because I think I listen to like I've been listening to Dax Harwood's podcast recently, and sometimes he does talk about his relationship with his wife. He said like the key thing in any and all relationships is communication. It's like that's like the first thing he learned. It was like communication is the key to a like great relationship. And if they're not from the get-go like communicating with you like oh yeah, like not their intentions clear, because that was the thing with like me and my girlfriend. It's like we met in Starbucks for a date, didn't know where it was gonna go, and then it was just like hugging in the middle of the street, and then just went in for a kiss, and then a few days later it was like yeah, let's do this. So so I think like
Fucking beautiful,
communication
isn't it?
key, and now it's like now we message each other on the regular, let her know all that stuff, and
What
and
facilitated you guys going for a date? What sort of, because obviously you've known each other before.
we just said about like meeting up, and we were like, yeah, let's just meet up.
What, did
And
she like randomly add you on Facebook one day or?
no, we'd like known each other on like Facebook and Instagram for a while. I think it was me because I responded to like one of her Instagram stories about yeah, I think yeah, because she loves the film The Breakfast Club. It's her favorite film of all time.
Amazing.
And so I think I saw a story about that, and I was like, oh yeah, I saw it recently. Then we just got chatting, and then just reconnected. So I just like chat to her on the like we chat to each other almost every day now. One thing I that she noticed, which I was which I said to her like, I'm sorry. It was that like I started putting like I love seeing you. Don't get me wrong, but I have this to do. Like I told her today, it's like she wanted to meet me after work. I'm like, I love seeing you. Don't get me wrong, but I've got to go home, have dinner, record the pod with you. Got this too, and she's like, you've been saying that a lot. You've been saying that a lot recently, and I'm like, I'm sorry. It's like I do love seeing you, but it's like but she gets it too. It's like we're both busy people, and that's the one thing that I think I adore about her most, about how much she understands. Was she because she's like, you've been saying that a lot recently of like you love seeing me, but she gets it too of like we're both busy people. Of like she even says like she's busy with her work, I'm busy with my work. So it's like we don't see each other as often as we'd like, but we both get it because we're both busy people.
But that'll also help you grow for a longer relationship because
Mm.
you'll have someone to talk about. You know,
Yeah.
you'll be able to meet people and, you'll be able to meet her and sort of say, yeah, this is what I've been up to the last few days. Or, I was chatting to this fucking mental Arab geezer on this podcast or whatever it might be. It's that thing of, you know, I don't need to spend every day with someone to be in love with them.
Yeah.
But then you also want to know that at a moment's notice, like for me, I'm more like a relationship to me, and obviously it's different for everyone. So, and
Yeah.
just wrong with that. To me, a relationship is all about it's me and you versus the world.
Yeah.
Like I want to know that we're, inseparable, even when we are separated. Like
Yeah.
we can still talk at any moment. Like we can still, lose ourselves in that moment. We can share each other's heart and soul and passion. And we know that when we're together, that the intimacy is gonna, it's got to be red hot as well. Like I'm a very
Yeah.
fiery person, as people know. I'm very passionate. I don't love by measures.
There you are.
Yeah, yeah, you are. There it is. That's right. The old Henry Hoover 9000. It's come on. Like, I'm kink friendly, I'm sex positive, I'm
Yeah.
down for some shit. But
Sex
it's
workers work, man.
but yeah, it's
Has not would you ever get I know it's going off topic but because we just talked about being sex positive, and I know you've had her on the Wrestle Plug, but would you ever get like Nadia on here to discuss like her OnlyFans side of things?
me and Mark have actually talked about that. It'd be really cool. Like me and Nadia spoke about stuff sort of fleetingly on the Wrestle Plug. Obviously, anyone who knows that me and Nadia are like best mates. Like we
Yeah.
fucking love each other. It's really funny because like there's a few people, there's whispers, what it's like, and people just
Mm.
fucking right. You know what it's like in wrestling. You spend a lot of time.
I mean, Nadia is very.
She is very attractive, yes. She's stupidly beautiful. And actually, in many ways, like she'd hate me for saying this. So if she ever watches this, I apologize. But like there is that intimidation factor of having a best friend like that who is basically a supermodel. But I don't see it that way, which is nice because I'm never overhauled by her in the sense of, holy shit, you're like this fucking immense, beautiful OnlyFans model. It doesn't overawe me in the slightest because I do just see her as a friend.
Yeah.
It's like we have a beautiful connection. She's like the friend equivalent of a soulmate, which is lovely.
Yeah.
And I have a similar kind of friendship with you, for instance, where it's like there's a great connection between two people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously, we'll bang it out from time to time. It is what it is, but it's not your message like, yeah. It's what? It's not gay. It's men respecting each other's power. That's what it is.
Dominate me, King.
Yeah, exactly. Join my house of black.
I mean, you've got what? I don't know how. I forget how many inches are in a foot, but I'm 5'6". You're 6'3", so you've got like almost a whole foot on me. Step on me, King.
But when it comes to the downstairs department, I hear that you've got a lot more than I got going on. So my bladder boob is basically just working its way through it to the point where I'll end up like a dog and it'll go inside me.
Yeah, but you've been circumcised.
The circumcision, I think, didn't help. I swear now. It's funny because they said to me, like, it's weird. Like, some people have said to me, oh, yeah, when you get a circumcision, it looks bigger. And I'm like, not for me, actually. If anything, it looks smaller. So, and that's something else we talk about ad nauseum on here. We're quite comfortable talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I think I no shame in it because it's become so modernized now. But I use my Manscaped like every now and again, and I feel like when I shave my like it is a mental thing, and it is kind of true of like your dick does look bigger when you shave downstairs. It's like,
I think I need to invest in that because I've just been using like a casual razor, and obviously it's not the same. Like I've got clippers and things obviously because I can grow hair. I just shave my head because I'm pretty much bald here, but it's Yeah, I do need to. We need to get a sponsorship, don't we? We need Manscaped to sponsor our podcast.
Manscaped was like one of the best because I'd always been like, oh, I'm such a hairy guy, and it's like I like my hair, but I wouldn't mind like being like a looking like one of the wrestlers. Like, oh yeah, they shave their bodies, they look so cool. So I invested them in the Manscaped for like 2, 3 years ago now, and I'm like, yeah, this thing actually is a really good investment. It's just like,
They are quite pricey, aren't they? But
yeah,
then, like it's funny because I hear Jim Cornette and Stone Cold and all these different people, these podcasts listening, and I sponsored by Manscaped, and he's like,
they've got so many. There's so many discount codes out there that actually makes it worthwhile.
yeah, that's the thing. I need to. I mean, yeah, well, we'll try and. I think that'll be one of my next port of calls is investing in something like that because it would be nice to kind of just feel a bit better. But yeah, like my advice to anyone out there who's maybe struggling like I am with these kind of things is that, and it's not the advice that I ever take, so I'm a hypocrite, but I'm kind of in this stage of my life where I'm like, you've got to keep going, you know.
Yeah.
Even this girl that I went on a date with, she's like, oh, well, we move, don't we? We move. It's like, well, if
Game
I
the game's the game. She's like the game's the game. It's like no, it's like I get that, but I know it's like we move on, but are you moving on because you didn't have a good time, or are you moving on just because you wanted to waste my time,
or because you're scared. Like, and the thing is, like, I think there's a real nasty stereotype out there that it's only women who get scared about being vulnerable or sharing their emotions. And that's fucking bullshit. Like, me personally, I have a lot of emotional, context to everything that I go into. Tanvir is just staring at his phone right now, messaging his missus, rubbing it in even more. I know what you're up to. Yeah, so I can tell. I can tell. Like, that's the look of a man who's extremely happy because he's got somebody, that piece of shit.
You've got me, sir. You've got me.
Exactly. And the thing is, right, I don't want my friends to ever feel like me moaning about this stuff means that I don't like, that they're not important enough because they are. They are my everything, my friends, my family, my Wrestle Plug gang, all that kind of stuff. But there's still room. There's still plenty of room for
Yeah,
somebody. And that's what makes it difficult when you've got all of these skills. And it's made difficult when you are so well known or so popular or even hated because so many people know me as a person and they think, oh, Max is a really nice guy. Like he always comes to our shows. He's great on videography. He's always
yeah,
friendly to people. He's always laughing. He's always joking.
yeah.
And I
Because
think people see that and think you're okay being on your own, and you're not. You're actually not. Like I don't enjoy being. I'm one of these people. It's not a case of, I'm just needy or whatever. It's just, I like being in a relationship. I like being with people.
exactly.
And some people enjoy that, and some people like I have friends who genuinely love being on their own and being career driven and not, fucking answering to it. And that's great.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, that's fantastic too. But for me, I'm like, no, actually, like I know that my heart is massive and it belongs to somebody else. And the problem is that nobody wants it. And that can beat you down. And the
There's
more older
the
you get, the more time that goes by, the more you think, come on. Like, and
the
maybe I'm too picky. Like, yeah, sure, I could meet any random vanilla midget or whatever, and just kind of like be like, yeah, fuck it, I'll settle. But I'm not going to do that either because I have
there's
standards. I know what I want from somebody.
Yeah, there's the one line that I would want to get tattooed at some point, but I don't know where on my body that Hana Kimura said of that in a promo of like everyone's different, everyone's special. And that like really resonates with me of like when you said that, it's like everybody is different. It's like be happy for them of like you're a person who's like craving that
Yeah.
relationship. And I'm like, that's great too. And it's like I really hope it works out because there was that one girl I think you told us about that kind of pissed us all
Mm.
off. Who was like it went really well, but she was kind of afraid to commit because she's like, oh yeah, you stay up for resting. It's like just because you do, just because you stay up for resting, it doesn't mean that she has to. It's like
Yeah, it's very weird, like the way people sort of behave towards you when you're in the wrestling world. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's just a super carny business. When people meet you, they assume that you're going to be very kind of one dimensional or that it's like that's it, that's all you've got.
no,
It's very frustrating trying to explain to people when I meet them that it's like, no, actually, like I have multiple layers and multiple different things. I'm not gonna, it's probably this fear I imagine when they're like, oh God, he's gonna make me watch like highlights from WrestleMania 21. And it's like, hey, if you want to watch it, all they're better. But that's cool. We can go to the cinema. Like, I don't need to watch wrestling. I don't need to drag you to
do
shows.
you know the a date idea which might work for you. You're a videographer, right? And a photo, and you've got some new. What if you say it's like for our first date? What if I do a photo shoot of you, and then you look back at the pics together, and
See,
and you'll
I'd love
impress her
to
with how
do that.
talented you are.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'd love to do stuff like that. I want to do that with my friends, not just me.
Yeah.
But it's not just somebody that I'm like passionate about. But like for instance, like with this girl with the OnlyFans and stuff like that, it's like I'd love to fucking record content for you and help out. Like it's something that I'm really passionate about doing. I make incredible music videos and things like that. I'm not some scrub. Like I'm really good at what I do. And but like I think particularly with women, it's that vulnerability of like I see this all the time with models that I know because I know a lot of models who work in wrestling and stuff like that. Very particular about who they'll have take their photos or do the
Yeah,
videos with. They
which
feel
is
like
like
those people might take advantage.
fair enough.
So it's a difficult balance. I do recognise that it's now 11 o'clock, sir, and that you said that you needed to be in bed relatively soon.
I can stay up for a little bit longer. I do
Cool.
not
Well,
mind.
what we'll do is
Uh,
we'll invite everyone else in because they're all fucking chomping at the bit now, aren't they? To jump in. So we'll have a little
yeah.
we'll have a little chat ski with the gang, but because they're not welcome on Silent and Death Machine. You hear me, Toby? You piece of shit. No, I'm kidding. I love you, buddy. But yeah, it's been great having you on this podcast because it's entirely different. And me and you, our friendship goes so much further than just being
Exactly.
to know each other at wrestling. You're like family to me. And
I think of you the same way, brother.
it's lovely to have somebody like you who is entirely different. And I really pride myself on the fact that I have friends that are so different across the spectrum. Not everyone's, some people, you look at their friend circles and you think, why are they all like fucking cis white, people? Like, and all that sort of, I don't get that. No, I love having totally different people. You're like the kindest guy in our friends group, and then I like the fact that like Ebenezer, for instance, he's a fucking monster. But
I love him so much.
exactly because he brings something different.
He's one of my favorite because it's like in our games night, but even in the Zoom chats, I'm like, he's such a lovely guy, but there's that little demon in his ear of like, say the thing, say the fucking offensive thing,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then
Upset everybody with my. He's like a shock jock, isn't he? He's our shock. He's our fucking. He's kind of like a. He's almost like our Piers Morgan in many ways.
yeah, and then as soon as he says it, you're like, oh, but you're also like, nah, that's pretty fucking funny. That's pretty fucking funny.
Howard Stern's probably a better kind of comparison because he's very similar to him.
Like, I always link the Howard Stern Beetlejuice Vicari the retard when I can.
Oh my lord!
It's so funny but so bad. Of just Howard Stern of being like, you're like, hey Beetlejuice, can you spell this? And it's just it's so bad.
Yeah, there's fuck me, life is fucked up.
Just Howard Stern would be slap nuts.
What you say to me? Slap nuts.
I love Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is such a little legend.
Beetlejuice is gangster. But yeah, no, Tanvir, thank you very much for coming on the Silent and the Death Machine. You are certainly not nearly as silent as the other guy, and it's nice to fight. Do you know what? I'm not bitter in the slightest. I'm super happy that you have something that you're passionate about, that you have a person in your life now that you're passionate about. I really hope it's going to be a long lasting thing. I'd love to be able to talk to you when I'm 42 and still desperately trying to wrestle. And it's like, yeah, I probably would have met her at that point. She'd be like, oh, yeah, that guy got fucked over by IKEA girl, right? I'm like,
yeah, IKEA girl. I'm gonna call her in a sec because I think she's at a friend's and she keeps saying it's like, can you call me afterwards? I'm like, yeah, I will.
Yeah, it's cool. However, ladies and gentlemen, Silent Death Machine, as always, we have an email, silentdeathmachine@gmail.com. We also have a Twitter, SNDM Pod. Send in your questions, send in your thoughts, send in your opinions. If anything's resonated with you, maybe you're of a different culture and you want to share what your culture's like in terms of weddings. Maybe you want to talk about battles with depression, racism, relationships. What are your thoughts on it? What do you think? If you're watching this and thinking, do you know what, Aeron X? I've got some opinions on why you're single or whatever that is. Send them in. More than happy. And they're obviously anonymous unless you want your name out there. Always let us know in the email if you're happy to have your name shared. Otherwise, we just de facto go with anonymous because, why should people's names be out there unless they want them to be? So, yeah, send in your stuff. Let us know what you're thinking and hopefully you're enjoying the podcast. It's nice to branch out and hopefully SilentMark will be back soon. If not, I'll just replace him with Tanvir. Easy.
I'll be the silent part, but through the whole time I just won't speak.
We're ramping up the diversity here at Silent and the Death Machine. That is what it is. But for this podcast, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. We normally try and end it on the most awkward fashion possible. Is there anything you want to say that might make people uncomfortable?
I can't think of anything that
Yeah, like me and SilentMark have this real hard time of ending a podcast without being fucking crazy. He normally shows his dick thumb off on screen. That's his thing. Yeah, fuck it. Yeah, that'll do me. Get out the old fucking masala hog.
Masala hog.
The masala hog, yeah.
The aloo gobi.
I was gonna say I'll show you a sagaloo. Ain't nothing sagging with this aloo, hon. You understand?
Blue chew on this, motherfucker.
This Indian dirt, you get me?
Look at them big old titties. Look at them
Big old burgers.
Look at them big old bitties.